mom sacrificed a lot when I was growing up. I was raised by a single mom. We took like a $10 bus trip up here in the dead middle of winter. We had to like stand in between the skyscrapers. It was so cold. We're giving you a merit scholarship.
Whoa.
That shifted things.
You're kind of famous in Edinburgh. 7 times in Team's honors list. So many presentations, so many groups.
I'm just the kind of guy who tends to say yes.
Tell me all about what PACE is doing in terms of AI. What is your job role as a graduate AI assistant? Cool, dude. Welcome to the show. I'm glad you're here. You're kind of famous in Edinburgh because you've been 7 times in Team's honors list.
Yeah.
And so many presentations, so many groups. I saw somewhere probably in Google developer group or something.
Yeah.
So many things.
I'm just the kind of guy who tends to say yes. I feel like if I have the free time or like if what I was planning to do isn't really anything better than this, why not? I'll do it.
Yeah.
And that mentality led me to, where I am today. I did like one event, probably I don't even know, was it 2 years ago? I was asked to speak at the presidential scholarship reception. They were like, hey, we just want to, hear your perspective as a scholarship recipient at PACE and like how scholarships have impacted you.
Mm-hmm.
And I was like really, excited to share my story. But I was super busy because I was working full time, like sometimes 42, 45 hours a week.
Whoa.
Yeah, resale life never stops.
Shit.
So, I was like, well, I'll have to move my schedule around, like make some changes.
Mm-hmm.
But I was already kind of pulling back from the work, of like retail and stuff in general. Because I realized, what I did and what I do at PACE is, so much greater than just punching a time clock. So I made the time. I worked with the team to write the speech, and I delivered it. My first ever like real public speaking. It's not like giving a speech in front of a class.
Yeah.
They're like, do you have any public speaking experience? I was like, well, I do my presentations and stuff.
Yeah.
But yeah, it was about like 100 to 150 people in the room.
Whoa.
And I wasn't nervous.
You wasn't nervous?
I wasn't nervous.
Whoa.
I felt like, I knew enough people in that room. I knew enough faces to where like this is, it's familiar to me.
It's gonna be like talking to people you know.
Yeah,
so.
and then it's my story, so it's nothing to be embarrassed about, nothing to hide, or anything like that. But from that first experience, I just kept getting asked, like, hey, do you want to come to this event? Or I presented Seidenberg Innovation Awards 2 years in a row. So yeah, just like things have started to fall into my lap, and I really pulled away from my job at that point and really leaned into the PACE community and the connections I was making here. And that one, I always say like that one event, that one time I said, yeah, I'll do the speech, I'll take 3-4 months preparing to deliver this, 5-10 minute speech. That really changed the trajectory of my life because I had no idea where I was going or what I was doing. I was just kind of going to school, going to work, going home, hoping that one day I would get the idea of, oh, this is what I want to do with my career. But, some of the connections I made that night led to me being able to, get internship opportunities, have other speaking opportunities, and just really show not why I am here at PACE, but why I deserve to be here. We forget a lot of times because we're working so hard. You're like, I'm, lucky to be here, but also the background work that I put in to be here that's the proof that's in the pudding, right?
And also, you're the first generation college kid from your family. How is that? And what made you choose PACE, and what made you choose computer science?
So what made me choose PACE actually was my mom, she sacrificed a lot when I was growing up. I was raised by a single mom on government assistance, Section 8 food stamps, all that. And my mom, she just really always emphasized the importance of being educated and having knowledge and not being afraid to explore. So every time she had like any, spare money, she would use it to introduce us to something new, whether if it was a new cuisine or, we would just go out and explore. We lived in DC, so I've been to every museum that's in DC. Like she would do her research and find out what are free days that I could take my kids, to learn something new. So I was always curious. And one year in particular, she brought us to New York. We took we took like a $10 bus trip up here in the dead middle of winter. I remember it was so cold.
Uh-huh.
It was so cold. We had to like stand in between the skyscrapers. She's like, it's warmer in between the buildings. I was like so cold one time, but I fell in love with the city, with everything like going on. It was just so busy, and DC it's a city in itself, but it's just it doesn't compare to the scale that New York City is on. Manhattan is on. And from that moment, I was like 10 years old. I was like, I want to live in New York.
I want to be in New York.
Yeah. And so I really started thinking, how can I get there? And when I was a first year high school student, they, had us do like your dream college board or something like that. And I had like, just all New York schools up there with like a few schools in California. Because I was like, oh, it'd be cool to go in California. But I had like 3 schools in New York out of the 5 schools that I was supposed to pick. And Pace was up there just because at this time I was interested in arts and entertainment management. So that really dictated a lot of the schools that I was picking. I was interested in fashion and entertainment because that was what I grew up around. I always consider myself like, somewhat interested in pop culture. But things kind of, they took a little bit of a turn as I was in high school. Things in my life weren't panning out the way they were expected to be. We ended up losing our ability to have like government assistance. So I had to get a job at 16 and like start paying rent, start helping out with utility bills. And not really because I had to necessarily, but I just I didn't feel right. Like seeing how hard my mom was working and how much she was struggling. Knowing that I could make a difference in that. So I worked, I helped pay the bills, and just kind of balance things out. And soon that became all I knew. I graduated high school a little bit earlier than expected. My school like shut down out of the middle of nowhere. They like had lost their accreditation, and I had enough credits. I had enough credits to graduate since my junior year of high school. But I just kept going for the senior years to do like electives and stuff. But nope, they sent me my diploma in the mail, and here I was like, oh man, what do I do now? Because I didn't plan on going to school since I had been, working so much. I was like, I don't know how I'm going to afford this. So I kept working. I kept working, and I started working for Nike, and I met a manager there who was like, hey, you're really good with this business stuff. You should consider college. I don't want to see, such a bright mind, like just, here on the bottom of the pyramid as a retail employee. So I applied, and I got recommendations from those managers there because I didn't have any SAT or ACT scores or anything to supplement my application. My mom, she's helping me along the way, but this was also foreign territory for her because while she did go to college, she didn't ever attend a 4-year university. She did like, those online schools like University of Phoenix and stuff like that. And she never finished. She ran out of financial aid. So, that was the one thing that she could guide me on is like, hey, be smart with your decision and be sure because you don't want to change your major so many times that you run out of aid. And then also to go where the money is, So when I applied to those schools that I had on my vision board, because, at this time, it was probably about like September when I got recommended to apply. And I was like, oh, man, these deadlines are coming up soon. Let me just go back to, all the schools that I had picked out before. And I started at Pace. I applied to Pace to be an arts and entertainment management business major in Leuven.
Cool.
And, kind of set it and forget it for the application. I didn't really like put too much thought into it afterwards. And then I just got this email out of the blue one day. I'm working like a really late closing shift, and they're like, hey, you
You've been
got in.
accepted. Cool.
And I was like, awesome. And then I read the rest of the letter. It's like, oh, we're giving you a merit scholarship.
Whoa.
And that, to me, like that shifted things immediately. I never, I didn't even think I was going to get in. You know, it's like, I didn't think I did too well in high school. I wasn't like super proud of my performance. I was really counting on, you know, that having another semester of high school to round out my GPA, because I had about like a 3.6 and I really wanted to get a 3.8. But I didn't have the opportunity to. So, you know, I wasn't expecting to get in, let alone get a scholarship. And then let alone a merit scholarship. You know, it's like, it's not, you know, just for hard times. It's like, you know, we really think you could be somebody. And, you know, PACE was the first school to get back to me, first school to offer me a scholarship. And I just took the chance. I was like, yeah. You know, it was, to me, it was a no-brainer. It's like, this is clearly the opportunity that I need, that my family needs, and this is the way that I'll be able to move forward in this feeling of stagnancy that I have going on.
What made you shift from arts and entertainment to computer science?
Reality sets in. My first semester at PACE, I was, you know, in Lubin. I'm taking classes, I was doing like macroeconomics and like intro to business, and it was all online. Because this was literally, I started in 2020, like right when COVID kicked off. So I never even got to tour like PACE in person, actually, before I started going. My tour was canceled. But I'm in these classes, and I'm just like, I'm not feeling it. Like, a lot of this stuff I already know because I was just so deep in retail. At this point, I had like 3 or 4 different retail jobs. And at Nike, I was working like a pretty high level position for, you know, an individual contributor. I was at the highest level that you could be at before you became a supervisor. I was often the person that they would defer to before they went to, you know, certain supervisors because I had so much experience. So the classes really, they weren't providing me with anything new. And I felt like if I was going to take this jump, if I was going to move to New York City and, you know, upend my entire life out of nowhere, it had to be worth the risk. So one of the classes they put me in was intro to computing, Python-based Excel, you know, stuff, very simple coding. But I was just fascinated with it. And I found myself like researching it outside of class time. I was like, I think this is actually what I want to do. This is something that like really interests me. So I jumped on it. I emailed my advisor and set it up to switch. I was like, I'm going to be a computer science major. And everybody was like, you're a little bit crazy, you know, making that decision so early on. But, you know, it's your education, it's your experience. And from that moment, I was like, well, this is what I got to stick with. Because I made that jump, that determining factor. And I kind of had to start all over because, you know, the classes that I had took that first semester, they didn't really count for anything. But I switched to a BS. And then once I found out that, like, a BS would set me back, like, a whole extra year, and my scholarship didn't extend that far, I was like, okay, well, let me do the BA in computer science. And that had, like, a lot more free electives. So some of the classes I had took before, they would still count. And then I could still get, you know, all of the meat and potatoes, what I was looking for from a computing degree.
Cool. You also mentioned about Seidenberg Innovation Award.
Yeah.
Is that still going on?
Yeah. Every year, Seidenberg hosts the Seidenberg Innovation Awards. So it's where we welcome industry leaders. They're usually like nominated by multiple people. But we, you know, pick them, invite them to Seidenberg. Sometimes they're affiliated with Seidenberg, sometimes they're not. But, you know, these are just top tech or business industry leaders, people who are really change makers and on top of the ball. And, you know, we award them for their, you know, contributions to this amazing world and industry we have going on right now.
Oh, interesting. Okay, it's not like students in PACE have created something new and you award them based on their innovation.
No, it's completely like ran by, you know, Seidenberg and the board. So students do participate. They'll present awards or be guest speakers or
Mm-hmm.
hosts and things like that. But it's a really, for me at least, it was a great opportunity to network
Mm-hmm.
with people who are actually doing the work that I want to do, and people who are successful.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and it kind of humanizes them in a way where you might see somebody on LinkedIn and
Mm-hmm.
see all of the things they're doing, and now you get to talk to them and be like,
Yeah.
hey, so like how are
Yeah.
you managing like
Yeah.
this and this,
Mm-hmm.
or how did you go from this like simple job to
Yeah.
being C-suite executive. So yeah, it was a great opportunity. Still goes on. It's every year, usually in the spring.
Don't you think this is a great idea to like help innovators from Pace, like give them awards based on the different innovation they make?
Yeah, I think.
Or do they already do that in Seidenberg?
Yes and no. I think it's kind of like there are awards and there's you know I don't know, a better way to say it. I guess like there's scholarships or things like
Scholarships.
that, prizes, competitions,
Mm-hmm.
hackathons,
Mm-hmm.
a lot of stuff that goes on in the background of Seidenberg that people might not really see. All of those type of events are student based, so we do have students here who have won awards at Pace and like outside of Pace. Um, I can't think of anyone in particular right now. I'm like blanking, but we just have so many great things going on
Cool, cool, cool.
from the student body of Seidenberg.
Yeah. And also tell me all about what Pace is doing in terms of AI. How are you
Yeah.
implementing stuff, and what is your job role as a graduate AI assistant?
So Pace and AI. Pace wants to be the AI university,
Yeah.
as I have been told, as I hear a lot. And I think it's a great move, especially in the market and where we're located. Like in terms of New York City, but then also the financial district, right? Because that's a huge implication of AI and why we make a lot of the decisions that we make is the financial aspect of it. So that's what Pace is doing. Pace wants to be the AI university, and how they get there is kind of still up in the air. We have an AI committee, which I am a member of, and we talk about innovations and information and news, and then also things that we're bringing to the university in terms of tools and different technologies that we can introduce to students and professors.
Like what type of tools?
So, for example, I work on the T-Bone chatbot. So across Pace websites, there'll be a chatbot on almost every department's page where you can ask it questions and things like that. And it is ran by artificial intelligence, but it's not
Like are you
generative.
guys like using an API like ChatGPT?
So not at the moment. It has its own knowledge base, brain in a way. It's a proprietary software that we license out, but it is very basic right now. It has a lot of what they call custom responses, where that's just a
Yeah,
human who's saying like, hey, if somebody asks this, give them this answer.
Oh, it's like figure out the keywords in their questions and bring out the answers.
It like
Okay.
has this huge mind map of ideas that or of proposed questions that a student or a professor might have, or even a prospective student, because it also is on the enrollment and admissions
Okay.
websites.
Is there anything else like probably in AI that's like super impressive?
So right now we have a pilot program going on where we have AI tutors in some of the classes. For the most part, it's in the business classes, just very introductory level classes. Information that can be shared, and it's not like a complex course that professors explicitly designed. These are very gen ed courses. But I think that is one of the places where Pace will win with AI is these AI tutors. We've always had issues with the learning commons as a student body, whether some people might not like the learning commons because I never get help there, or the help that I get, it doesn't really stick, or I can't get help for a specific class because they don't have a tutor for my class. There's only been so many tutors that you can hire. So I think that having these AI tutors will free up the availability of our, human tutors
Mm-hmm.
to be able to tutor people for more complex
Is it
classes.
like pace developing those stuff like
Yeah,
tutors?
yeah. So
That
I'm
would be
one of
cool. Yeah.
the people who are working on developing and training the models. So
Mm-hmm.
we're exploring a variety of different services and technologies with it. I am, really pushing for something that can be like has less of a overhead for it.
Like, what do you mean by like models? Like,
Oh, like GPT
oh,
or Gemini or
uh
Claude
huh.
or Copilot.
So like probably thinking of using those models to create new AI tutors, like basically like an app.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, exactly like an app.
Uh-huh.
We're trying to find the best way to integrate this with our existing systems, because a big part of AI, like I said, is it's financial. So Pace has a number of different systems that we pay for that we might not use, and this type of AI tutor with the multimodal AI models will be able to save us money, in layman's terms, where we might be able to cut out expenses for a specific software that we are using that nobody really looks into, and it'll also bring visibility to different courses or struggles of students
Yeah,
as
yeah,
well.
yeah.
Like we get feedback from these bots. It's like kind of like a map of, hey, these are the most common things that students are confused about. That way, a professor can look at the AI tutor and say, if I had 5 students in a week ask for clarity on this topic that I went over, maybe the next class I should spend like the first 15 minutes reiterating some of these important points. So really we'll just streamline the education process
Yeah,
and
gotcha.
highlight a lot of oversights that a professor might not have, because you could go to the learning comments and you can get tutoring, but does the professor get that feedback of like, hey, you had this many students go to the learning comments for this same issue? It gives them a key to a door that they didn't
Yeah.
previously have access to.
Yeah. Like I get feedback from students. That would be like really cool, dude, if you were able to pull those off. And also, what are the tech giants do you follow? Like, do you like inspire from
What type of
tech giants? Like, who do you watch? Who do you consume? Or like Sam Altman, Elon?
I don't watch any one in particular, and I kind of I do that intentionally because I don't want to model myself after anyone. I see great things and faults in everyone. I think it's important when we look at these tech giants. I try to look.
Wait. I think I put
you
the
know,
question in the wrong way. Whose work do you like more? Or simply like you see the tech stuff that they're doing, it's like that is pretty impressive and that's so cool and it would probably help in the future.
I mean, you mentioned Sam Altman, so I do see that with with what ChatGPT is doing, and the a lot of things that GPT-5 promised not being delivered. However, I do see changes coming with that, and I see with other models that I might use as well. Like I've been kind of leaning a little bit more into trying to experiment with Gemini lately, for example. Google has made this huge push like to get on campus this year. So as somebody who is frequently a GPT, user, using Gemini, for example, I see the points that Sam Altman tries to make. They make a lot more sense to me now, where I'm looking at the type of responses that I'm getting, the knowledge that Gemini is, lacking, or it's something even so simple as the UI of Gemini and how humanized GPT has become. That's
Like
kind
you
of what I
like
see.
different features in different models, like you like UI in Google Gemini, whereas the
Um,
reasoning and answering stuff in ChatGPT.
yeah, and how ChatGPT can relate its language to the user. It really adapts very quickly to how the user speaks, how what types of answers that you're looking for. How concise or
Mm.
how in depth they
Mm.
should be. Features that they roll out, such as like being able to quote, the AI back to itself and say like, hey, you said this, but it wasn't true, or you got to elaborate on this, or you're using or it was true, but now it's not current.
Mm.
These are the changes and adjustments that I see, ChatGPT making that I don't really see other models making as quickly. So that is definitely something that I pay attention to.
And what is this Dean's honors list, dude? Like, what happens there?
So honestly, it's your grades and your dedication that gets you on the list. For me, I was on the list since my very first semester. I had like a bout where I was working like a lot of hours, so I had just missed it for like a year. That's like that's a whole other chapter in my life, like fighting for my scholarship and everything, like almost losing everything literally. Um, but yeah, that's just something that I made a personal commitment to myself. It's like, every semester I want to be on the dean's list. I want to have honors. I want to
Like, what is
be.
the advantage of it? Like, what happens in that when you're on the
I
list?
mean, you get a certificate, and you get to say that you were on it. For me, it's a sense of personal accomplishment. I've always held my GPA to a high standard since.
Like the dean buy you coffee or
I wish. I mean, I guess it makes my name more known to them. Like, all the deans pretty much, they know me since I've been on the list. And the list it gets shorter and shorter. Every year, especially when you get up to like second and third honors, or I'm sorry, first and second honors. The list it's shorter and shorter. So the dean was really more inclined to remember those names. But I think if anything, for me, it's just a personal badge of honor that I'm like, yeah, I maintain this 3.5 to 3.7 GPA for an entire year, and then I've upscaled it and went for, I had a 3.7 to 3.9 and then 4.0.
like, are there people who make consistently on the list who are like on the list every year? Like, probably.
Yeah, I did a little bit of homework while I was, getting these honors, and I would look and see like, oh, I know that person, or I was in class with this person before. So I will say I'm not the only person who, is consecutively on these lists or anything like that. Especially in Seidenberg, you'll see a lot of the same names who are, at the top of that list.
Like, will you guys at least get the chance to like meet the dean, talk with him, probably?
Oh yeah.
Have lunch
Before
with him.
when Dean Hill was the dean of Seidenberg, we were very close. We had a very close relationship, and now I'm developing a relationship with the interim dean, Dr. Chen. So you definitely get, I would say, a better shot at developing that relationship with the dean by being on the dean's
Yeah,
list and showing dedication to your studies.
I did talk with um, Provost Hill. I don't know if he's still the provost.
Yeah,
But
interim
yeah.
provost.
Yeah, I did talk to him. He's a great guy. He was telling me about how Google search is still maintaining its position in search. Do you know that? Like, he said me, I don't know, I have to check it, but he said me that Google search is still rising up and people who search on Google are increasing.
Yeah. I definitely. There was a brief period of time where, everybody was spreading around. Oh, Google doesn't work. You got to use this. You got to use that. I've always been a Google person. It was in a phrase in my house when I was growing up with my mom, when I'm like, "Hey, mom, like, why do elephants have big ears?" She's like, "I don't know. Google it."
Google him.
So I will always be that person that will Google it, and I do believe that the changes that they're making with AI and being able to refine your search results a little bit better to adapt to kind of how the old way. That's what people desire. They want the old way of Google search. I think a lot of the direction that they're heading in now is good. So I don't find it hard to believe at all that the searches are going up.
Nice. Where do you look at yourself in the next 5 years? What do you want to do and what do you want to achieve?
That's a good question.
You can take your time. That's a heavy question.
Yeah. I mean, lately I've really been into like refining a new style of development. So I can potentially see myself working like in software engineering, but I haven't really seen myself as a software engineer, but more as a project manager. So that's something that I've been doing, and this is my first semester as a graduate student. But in all of the groups that I am in, I've been kind of taking charge and taking lead of these projects and really trying to structure them and organize them in a way that I learn how, to build something out. And since all the projects and the classes are different, it's really rounding me out as a software engineer developer. So yeah, I'll say in 5 years, I'll probably see myself in some sort of junior project management role where I can shadow someone and learn a bit more. I feel like I've always been the guy who kind of knows how to get something done, even if I don't know the exact path, to take. I know the main key steps, so I might not, be able to write an entire, PHP or Java program, but I can identify algorithms. I can, uh, build the database, entity relationships, and I can structure the project in a way where the workload is evenly distributed. That's where I think I feel more successful in my careers. Project management, still into web development too, but yeah.
Like, don't you think web development is dead?
So they say. So they say. I don't think it's dead in the sense that we're not gonna have web developers anymore. I just think that the way that we do it needs to be looked at. It needs to be overhauled, because you have some developers that look down on coding with AI, and then you have others who maybe code entirely with AI.
Like, why do they look down?
It seems, I feel like a lot of people, they see it as a cheat code or like you're hacking the system.
Yeah.
For me, I do a bit of both, where I will start out my project. I code by hand. I'll have, at most, at the beginning of the project, I'll use AI to write my PRD. That's your project requirements documentation. But I'm still feeding it all of this information where I'm saying the app should be able to do this, or this is the user story that I want to have. So I think people who look down on using AI as to code, they're looking at it as if you're using it for automation instead of augmentation. And I think for all AI, that is the way that we should be using it. It is a tool for us to use, but it is not by any means replacing anyone. So yeah, a lot of web developers who look down on it, I think they're seeing it as it's replacing you, when really just makes you better. For me, I can say, hey, like, this isn't working, and I can highlight the code, and the AI will tell me, oh, I looked in your files and I saw this, and that's why this is not working. So it really just kind of shortens the pipeline to be able to deliver a complete product. And then you still do have to have some knowledge of software engineering. So it's not like any old Joe can just have ChatGPT write an amazing program. It puts a lot of fluff in your code, and you need to know your file structure at minimum, in order to be able to have a complete project. But I think it's a great tool, and I see that web development, it just needs a change. It needs a refresh. We were, before the AI boom, we were on the brink of Web 3, and I think that was really promising for web developers. We're like, wow, like, I have to learn these new technologies. It kind of reminded them of the switch to Web 2 and navigating away from Flash. It's like, oh, we have a lot of new technologies to learn, but then here comes AI just slithering through, and nobody expected it. So it threw a lot of people off. And for me, at least, in terms of changes to web development, I think overall, as a society, we're experimenting a lot with design. Every year, design trends are nearly completely opposite of each other. And I think that that might peg to a bigger societal issue, of a lack of design, or or
like
under
eventually
designing
like
as a design
just
strategy.
it will be based upon the taste of who developed the website.
Right.
So I don't think like probably, and yeah, I think that developers will be replaced by AI.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think that, well, let me not say developers because, there's still the struggle with
Like at
AI
least
is
like
optimization.
front end developers will be.
Yes and no, because
See,
so
like
for me,
when I say replace, it means that the number of people who require to create a website will drastically decrease. I mean, if you check like 10 people, it will be reduced to 2 people. That's what I think.
I
You
so
disagree? You could.
I here's a hot take. I actually don't like apps. And this is why I think web development is not
Like, what do you mean by
is
apps?
like apps like on your phone, on your computer, on your tablet. I hate the process of having to download an app for everything. And I start to see this same sentiment grow as, iPhone users complain about their storage, about having to pay for extra storage, and why does everything take up so much space? I see that being what drives people back to the web. So web development might be dead now, but I think it's just because the way that we're thinking about the web is, using a browser on your phone when, we could do things like developing PWAs, progressive web apps, where it's on your phone. It feels like an app, but it's running in the browser.
Yeah.
That will change web development. That will change front-end UI design because, you have a million, let's just say fitness trackers on the market. But what do people gravitate towards? The one that looks the best. It's the reason why Apple is on top for so long is, Apple consistently for years, they will, deliver a product that is very similar or very safe for them. They don't make too many outrageous advances in, design or technology on a year-to-year basis. However, they maintain their, loyal customer base because they are still, at the end of the day, design people focused. So as the design and the structure of the app, stays the same, the people, they've gotten used to this.
The ecosystem of using an Apple device, phone, Mac.
Right.
So it integrates stuff so that the customers stick onto their products, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So convenience at the end of the day, I think is, one of the ways that people will be able to stick with the web. Everything runs off of the web already. So I don't think web development is dead. I don't even think front end is dead. I think front end it needs to change. People who are strictly front end need to learn some back end. They need to be full stack. But, that's with any job, it has its progressions. For example, when I was at Nike, I was I started out strictly into like retail brand, signage, navigation, customer experience, and, appearance of the store. I had to grow and develop because there's only so much you can do in that lane. I got into merchandising. Okay, well, when people get in the store and they're having a great experience, okay, now what do they do? What do they want to shop for? What do they look for? So getting into their mind helped me grow as a merchandiser, and then I was able to basically become a hybrid of a business analyst merchandiser. It comes with the territory of having a career. You have to grow. You have to learn new technologies. You have to learn stuff.
Yeah, cool. Thank you so much for coming today, Dante. I had a good learning curve with you, and hopefully you could achieve everything you want to achieve in the future. Yeah, that's it. Thank you.
Yeah, of course. Had a great time here.
Thank you, bro. Thank you for doing this.
Yeah, of course.